out with us if you want to do the things. And someone was like, I'll be there. So, yay, that's exciting.
Hey, Book Brainiac.
Are we live? Oh, we are live.
We just went live. I just
nice. Cool. I'm trying to pull it up over here so I can actually comment on stuff. Are we doing the videos with our skinny faces today for some reason?
No, I just forgot to. No, not the right one.
There we go. I don't like being that zoomed into my face.
No, that's totally fine. I'm not even into the wine bottle yet, so this should be interesting afternoon. Already derping.
Everything is fine. I'm gonna mute this rat. There we go.
All right. Favorite character?
Favorite character? Ooh. Always the good questions right off the bat. I think in this book is definitely my favorite character is definitely Kaladin. I think it's the same across all of the books, but especially in this one.
Yeah, same. I always seem to latch on to a character in a Sanderson novel, and it was definitely Kaladin. Although Shallan definitely, towards the end, I was like, okay, like she started to warm up to me a little bit too. So, but definitely Kaladin.
Yeah, Kaladin is definitely the one in this book.
I think probably Kaladin was my favorite from the beginning of the book until the end of the book. But then at the end of the book, Dalinar really just sort of ran up there real fast. And it was like, oh, dang.
Oh, look, there's 6 people watching. Wowza. Hi, everybody.
Hey.
Like Brainiac, like Shallan, and Kaladin.
My hair is insane. I just keep messing with it. Okay.
Potpourris for Kaladin. Lots of Kaladin fans. Everybody loves Kaladin.
This is Kaladin's book, though, in fairness, as we are going to do the things. Ooh, look at all these folks. Yay.
Welcome, everybody.
Books and Key. Hey, how's it going? Dalinar. Yes. I didn't like Dalinar at first, but he definitely, he started growing on me. We didn't really have a choice, by the end.
Just in case it wasn't clear, because we're talking about Way of Kings, I just want to say this video will have spoilers for Way of Kings. If you have not read it, please go away. I mean, you
don't get mad at spoilers.
Yeah, that's a better option probably. But
don't be mad at spoilers because it will probably happen sooner rather than later.
Yes, there will be the spoilers.
I was realizing during trying to film my TBR the other day that I can't describe what Words of Radiance might possibly be about because there's 1,200 pages that you haven't read yet. It's like there's no way I can't spoil it.
No, so I had a really hard I can't type obviously in those comments saying characters. I realized when I was doing my review for Words of Radiance that it was only 3 minutes long because it's really hard once you're in that far to not have spoilers. It does have spoilers, obviously, for Way of Kings. But I was like, you know what? It's going to go on an IGTV on my Instagram because I don't want to post a 3-minute video on YouTube. So
that's a great Instagram use, though.
Yeah. I'm about to start Oathbringer as well. It's exciting. I think I'm going to wait until closer to the end of October, though, because I want to roll right off of that into the release of the new book with the...
Don't have to wait too long.
Yeah. I'm also, as I told you, Kat, I decided to read way too many books this month, and I'm very stressed about it. It's fine. Everything is good.
Here's Sammy's kitty.
Yep.
Just pay attention.
It's time for food. But she still has 4 hours, so I may just randomly mute my mic so that she doesn't get annoyed.
I just like that I can just see the tail above your little name tag.
So, favorite character seems to be Kaladin pretty much across the board, and many others. And yes, Brandon Sanderson can write the hell out of a character, man. I mean, he can make you love his villain and fall in love with his protagonists. It's really, he doesn't make me love Sadeas, actually. Is that how you pronounce his name?
I've heard, so I read it in my brain Sadeas, but then I heard someone else doing a review and saying it was Sadius. Like that's how the
That's how the audiobook does it. Is sad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I don't think I like that, honestly, if we're being honest. I'm like, I like Sadeus is how it is in my brain.
It sounds more sinister.
Yes. I mean, it's probably meant to be sinister as he's like one of the villains in the series. That's not like the greater magic villain. He's just like one of the human casual villains.
Ooh, Yasna.
Yeah. Yasna is awesome.
I was excited to see that she starts off Words of Radiance. I was like, yeah, okay, cool. I'm here for this. Let's do it.
No, yeah, Yasna is definitely one of my favorites of the series. Especially in Sadie Ass. that's a great.
Perfect.
Yeah, I just like that Yasna's character in this book is very like I like the scholarly aspect that we see, and like we've already mentioned, Shallan takes a minute to grow on you in this book, but Yasna is just like she knows what she's doing in life and isn't gonna give any fucks about what anybody else thinks about it. So it's like she's a mood, if we're being honest.
Yeah. Yasna's a mood. I like that. Need it on a t-shirt. So then what about magic systems? Like Katie Katie Kitty in the Discord asked what magic system so far is your favorite and which one you would like to have.
So like I mentioned when we were discussing this in advance, I think the magic that is honestly the coolest, but it's also like very obscure, and there's not a lot of like I don't honestly get the logic behind it, or which I mean I'm a logical person, so I need the logic. I really think the magic with the breasts and the rainbows and Warbreaker is really cool. However, I don't think I'd actually want to use that one because I'm not going to say any spoilers in this video just in case you haven't read that book. But there's some more sinister aspects of that magic system. And so I'm definitely more like if one I would want to use was probably the Mistborn universe. I'm a big fan of how they use the Feruchemi in the second era, but again, no more spoilers here. But the Feruchemi in general, like where you ingest the metal and then can like basically do all this cool stuff. That's definitely my favorite, like for that I would want to use.
What about you, Sammy?
I agree. I do like the Mistborn, but I'm also, I've read the first 50 pages of Words of Radiance, so I have a little bit more information in like the whole Shallan stuff. And I won't mention anything because spoilers, but that seems interesting. But as a fully fledged out, we know everything about it. Magic system, I would say the Mistborn with the metals and the Feruchemi.
Yeah, I think I would go if I could be a Mistborn and have the whole shebang, I would definitely go for that. But if I couldn't have the whole shebang and I was just going to end up only being allowed to do one, like Breeze, I would probably choose Feruchemi because I'd rather have the diversity of it. Books and Key says she's been pronouncing Yasna with a J. Do we know that she's been pronouncing the J?
So when I read the books the first time, I also did Jasna, but also in the audiobook, I think it's Yasna. I've heard a couple of people. I basically this year, like, actually was watching reviews of other people's books and their experience in the Stormlight Archive, and they're like, Yasna, Sadius. I'm like, okay, y'all are maniacs. This is not how I read it. But it's fine.
Yeah. I have the audiobooks. Sammy was kind enough to send them to me, and I think I remember it being Yasna.
Yeah.
I didn't really pay attention to Sadius and his names because it was just like anytime he came on screen, it was like, you hate you. Kaladin can get magic from store. Oh yeah. That's actually that's a really cool one too.
Mm-hmm.
I would hesitate to pick that magic system because I would not particularly want to live in that world. it's really cool to read about. I don't want to be there.
No, I definitely like on that note. I think the whatever planet they're on for the Stormlight Archive is one of the most like dangerous planets in the Cosmere universe to actually live on. And once you've read all of the books, there's a video on YouTube. I don't remember who did it, but he basically was like ranking them in like which were like most survivable planets, and this one was not one of the like the higher ranking ones.
Yeah.
So it was, yeah. This is with the chasms and all the like giant bug monsters and just all the permanent war that it seems to have been on for like at least 50 like or 5,000 years because the 4,500 year previous interlude is like we're still in war now, and I'm like, oh, this is not great.
Yeah. Although, I suppose if the world came with the magic system and we were Feruchemists. Oh, but you've read an Era 2 also. I haven't read Era 2 yet, so I don't know if it gets better, but I would not want to be a Feruchemist in Mistborn Era 1.
I think I like honestly picked the wrong metal name. I like whatever is the Mistborn metal a different kind of magic than the Feruchemi is the ones with like the armbands and the memory and stuff, right?
What is that called?
Allomancy.
Yes,
okay.
Thank you.
So the reason I said it Feruchemi is because of how the things do the stuff in the second era books, but again, spoilers. But I like the magic in that because it is so fleshed out, and you actually both the Allomancy and the Feruchemi, you really actually like understand how it all works. Which I hope we eventually figure that out with the Stormlight Archive, but we're not there yet. So
the Spren, I like the Spren too, and with the end with Syl being what she was, I was like, oh shit, wait.
Yeah.
I was actually like, as we read, writing down all the different Spren. Obviously, I lost this notebook at chapter 44, so if stuff happened in Way of Kings with new Spren after chapter 44, I don't have it written down. But there's a lot of stuff going on, and then with like you were saying, what Syl actually is super cool.
Yes, and the recording of the Spren affecting how long they stay present, and then putting that with what Syl is, and then that water Spren that Axius recorded in his interlude that was actually a legend, and it just existed because it was a legend. It was like, wait a second, this is getting insane.
Yeah, it's I was like, when I was doing this reread of Way of Kings, I was really trying to like not miss anything, hence me writing down every single Spren that existed. And definitely the Axius's interludes ones were like really where he was like deeply analyzing the Spren was definitely cool and helpful.
So here's a question. Who was your all's favorite interlude perspective?
I don't remember a lot of them because they were so jarring and they took you out of the story so much that I was just like, this pisses me off. But like
Zeth.
Yeah. Like the only one I really remember, and then like you were saying, the guy that analyzed the Spren.
Right.
That was really cool.
There was also Non-Balat. He was an interesting one. It's like that one that you got from Shallan's brother. Mm-hmm. Who's weird and picks apart the crabs, and it was cringy. Whew.
No, yes. Oathbringer brings more information, obviously, for sure. But I think Zeth is obviously the only, I think, interlude we get with more than one perspective in this book. Like, he gets more than one interlude, right. Which definitely helps with his memorableness. But the interludes in Words of Radiance, you get like some of the same people more than once, in addition to Zeth still having some interludes. So like, I think the way the interludes, like, I agree with what you said, they were very jarring in Way of Kings, but they kind of make more sense as you go forward. But yeah, that's about all I got on that one. I think Zeth was good.
Yeah. Hey, Ezra, what's up? Yeah, I was just looking through, and I just found his Ishik, the guy who was the fisher, and he like was really confused as to why people didn't not walk in the water.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, he was cool. I had wondered if, like, where did that take place? That's another thing about the ones at the very beginning. You don't. I didn't have a very good understanding of the map at that point, so it was very disorienting. But as I gained a better understanding of the map, it got easier.
Character cameos. I don't know if I know what that reference is, but
Hoid. Is that
Hoid?
the wit?
The two people that are looking, there's two people from, one from Elantris and one from Mistborn, that are looking for someone.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that one. That was interesting. I know we got Hoid, like you mentioned, aka Wit.
Yeah.
Words of Radiance has some more cameos for sure, but I'll let y'all discover those when you get there. But yeah.
These mass market paperbacks are such a pain to try to thumb through. I've learned my lesson.
There are characters from the other books. Okay, yeah. I think we were. Yes.
Yeah, they were looking for Hoyd. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I don't remember that interlude.
Well, you don't know, because it's basically some guy, and then he gives names that aren't actual names, like the Thinker, to these people. He doesn't know their names at first, but then they give names that aren't actually their names. It's a very confusing interlude.
Okay.
Right. Because as I had to read it like 2 or 3 times, because I was like, I feel like this is important because they don't have actual names, but I'm very confused.
Okay, I just flipped past Ryzen, the one who, like, he went and visited the people who prioritize their farmers over their military.
Okay.
And I had thought, I had wondered if that was a connection to Rock's culture. I don't know. Anyway, I'm tired of thumbing through it.
I guess if you brought up Rock, we can kind of just talk about Bridge 4 for a second.
Yeah.
Well, audience, what was y'all's favorite Bridge 4 character, like something you really liked about Bridge 4? My favorite character was Rock. Also, I think I forgot the guy's name, but the guy who was definitely a general beforehand, that's part of Bridge 4. 10? No, that 10 was his brother.
Oh.
I have the things written down theoretically, but Teft.
Yeah.
I liked Teft and Rock. They were cool. Rock's culture and the Hertazarian airsick lowlanders was always entertaining, and the fact that he cooks and all of that is fun. So I think he's like a nice comic relief to Kaladin's like seriousness.
He is, yeah. He was definitely the comic relief. I liked that about him, and I liked the Sammy. Was it you or Casey who mentioned the birth order whenever we were talking through this discussion yesterday?
But I don't remember.
Yeah,
the birth order was
cool.
Yeah, like if you're born first, you have this. You know, you can only do this. Second, you can only do that. So on and so forth. And I think Rock was like, yeah, I can't be a fighter because I was born 5th or whatever, so I have to be a cook. And I'm just like, that is such an interesting way to do that. Like, it also sucks because, like, if you're the 3rd one born and you have to be a soldier, you know, you're like, oh, fuck, like.
Yeah. It feels similar to Kaladin's situation that he was in. I mean, not in a birth order way, but just that he felt like he was predetermined to be a surgeon for so long.
Lopen, I just responded. It just hasn't hopped onto our section area yet, but Lopen is great. I like him. He grows on you even more in the next book. I like when we kind of get introduced to Bridge 4 and like everybody doesn't talk to each other. It is like just like waiting till they kind of die being a bridgeman, and then And I like how we kind of see them all start to come together and open up and actually like become friends and like a found family, because that's literally what Bridgeport ends up being, I think, kind of towards the end of this book.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, Kaladin like has my whole heart, but and is definitely like an important like catalyst for this change in this. Yeah,
Everyone except Moash. Yeah.
and y'all don't even know why yet, so it's fine.
I feel like Moash is going to be interesting. I definitely didn't like him by the end of the book, but I was willing to hear his backstory. You know, I was like, all right, you haven't died yet, so I guess we'll.
Oh yeah, he's a character. Yeah, I just like the kind of transformation we see with the Bridgemen all the way up into when they decide to just be like, you know what, we're gonna rescue Dalinar and friends, and like Sanderfan began before that, but yeah.
Well, yeah, that was the point in the story though, where I didn't want to put down the book anymore. You know, like the Sanderfan should started just before that, because it was like, okay, I want to pick this up several times a day. But once I hit that point, it was like, no, everybody leave me alone. I am in the middle of a war. The Parshendi are winning, and I need to know how this ends. Sadeas, I want him. Oh God, I was so mad at him in that chapter. It was like, really? You did what? Not even cool. Yes, they were. Yeah. Anyway, I went on a tangent. My bad.
No, you're good. So what did y'all think about Kaladin and his backstory? Just before we move off of Kaladin, because this is his book. So
I really liked the way it was done. It made, when it was first happening, like the whole like jump backs, it made me angry, but then I got used to it. So then when they jumped back, I was like, oh, cool. Like, it was jarring, but when, like I said, once you got used to it, you were like, okay, we're going to get more of his backstory, you know, and how it just kind of led up all the way. You're like, oh, okay. So I'm excited to see the same thing with Shallan in Words of Radiance. Now that I know that that is a thing and how the book operates, I'm really interested to see it in the next books.
Yes, absolutely, Ezra. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
yeah. I just need things to be okay for him. Just need them to finally be okay. I liked the backstory. I like getting the backstory. I thought it took a really long time for it to get around to telling us exactly what happened to Tien, even though like we knew for such a long time that this is clearly how this went down. But it just felt like it built to that, and I was like, okay, and then so that would be my only real. I wouldn't even call it a complaint. Yeah, but qualm. Yeah, just like really okay. Finally, he said it. But I really liked understanding why he felt so angry about Light Eyes, and like why that was such a big deal to him with everything that happened with Amaram. Holy crap.
That was in the 10th chapter. I was listening to that at work because it was slow, so I was able to like focus on the audiobook, and I was like,
wait,
what is happening? Jeez.
Right?
No, I definitely like. I agree that it was a slow start and it was jarring, kind of getting into it. But once you kind of start getting invested in Kaladin and this character, you're just like, I need all the information. And I think like he's a really well written character that has depression. Just note about that.
Yeah, I liked that representation, the way that it went about it.
Yeah, and I just one of my favorite things is when Kaladin's all sad before we know about a lot of his backstories, and he like lost that poison leaf because he was going to try and poison and kill Gaz or whatever. I don't even know if it was Gaz.
No, it was the guy that sold him to be. Yeah.
And then Syl like nearly like kills herself trying to find it because she's like I thought it would make you happy, and it's like what stops him from jumping off into the chasm. I'm like, right on time, Chico. This was not what we needed in this book.
Yeah.
So I definitely like I love him, need to protect him, and am in love with Kaladin, but all of the above. But I think he's just a really good character you can really root for and stuff because he's obviously the protagonist, especially of this book, and one of the overall series main characters, at least for the first 5 of them. Don't know what happens after that. I don't even know. But so I'm excited to see where he continues going. And
So
2, 3, and 4.
So not in a spoilery way, but in a looking forward to Words of Radiance way, you said we still get the snippets with Kaladin, but we're done discovering his backstory, right? And then we're moving into discovering Shallan's backstory.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, and that's kind of how we're. So are the POV jumps or the not point of view jumps, the timeline jumps for Shallan as jarring as they were with Kaladin?
I don't think so, just because at this point we're like expecting that, and we read through. I think the jarring part is y'all have probably noticed a little bit that Shallan just is like a mental block in the way of what her past was, and she just refuses to acknowledge that, and that's a little bit more jarring, like breaking through that of motion. But I don't think the flashbacks really are as jarring. Shallan is going to go through a lot in this next book. That's all I'm going to say. Because Brando Sando can't just let anybody have a good day. Also, that's a very awesome like goblet thing you got going on there for your wine.
Thank you. I bought it from a local potter friend because I was like, oh my God, there's a dragon from wherever this is from. It has a dragon. And awesome. it was really, I paid way too much for it, but that's okay.
Hey, it's fine.
Anything else about Kaladin's flashbacks? What?
Sorry, I was gonna kind of ask another question about Words of Radiance and with how slow Way of Kings started and like once you got used to it. And like I said, I've read the first 50 pages of Words of Radiance. Does that like info dump-ish stuff happen throughout the whole book? Like, I don't want to say the whole book's an info dump, but like, is there more to it? You know, does that make sense? Like action-wise, like a lot of books I'm reading in October, so I'm thinking about possibly waiting till November to read Words of Radiance. So I just wanted to know, like, how much time do I need to give myself to read this book?
I would say it's definitely more fast-paced than than Way of Kings is, just because we've done a lot of the world building already, and we're like, we know what's going on, and we also kind of at the end of Way of Kings see the colons and like all our cast is kind of all heading in the same direction, so there's not as many like different places that have to be built up, if that makes sense, because everybody's kind of heading to the Shattered Plains at this point. But yeah, I think it's a much faster paced book. It's also 100 pages longer. And the third one's 100 pages longer than this one, so there's definitely like that to be considered. But I will say the interlude that you get towards the end with a character named Lift is the first 60 pages of the little blue book I read in the last live reading sprints we did, is like her character, the Edge Dancer one. That's going to take, like, some of the interludes are definitely longer in Words of Radiance, but they're easier to follow. They're less jarring. I would say it's definitely faster paced and more war is happening, as one would expect at this point.
Yeah. I don't think they're gonna get away from that anytime soon. I think that's gonna be a theme for a minute. Oh yes, gosh. So Kaladin's future, looking forward, looks brighter, but not necessarily bright. I don't think, you know.
I refuse to comment on that question. You'll have to wait and see. Yeah.
So we've been talking a little bit about Shallan. We also wanted to ask about the modesty sleeve, like what everyone's thoughts were on the modesty sleeve. Sammi, you want to start that one?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting concept, and I I think Casey mentioned this too, but we're not sure exactly which hand it is. It's your non-dominant hand, so I think from Shalon, I think she's mostly right-handed, so it would be on her left hand.
Mhm.
And it's just such a weird concept to be like, oh, I can't use one of my hands because I have to be modest about it. Like, why was that an idea? Like, it's so weird.
Yeah, yeah. What basis does that have? Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. It would be different if it was like more like a. I guess it wouldn't be that different.
If it
But
was a glove, though, you'd at least have access to your fingers, and it's like a mitten,
yeah,
but like not even your thumb, so you don't even have an opposable thumb on this hand.
yeah, exactly. So it's like like you're purposely impairing someone.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing, and I do think it has like ramifications like for women's success, but that's also why like we do see the demographic differences like between what men and women do in these books. Like it's very drastic, and unless you're one of the priest guys, you don't know how to read. So I guess like they expect the women to be like the things where you could kind of sort of get by with only one hand functioning,
Right, like the painting and the drawing
and the reading, and like but also women like do engineering stuff, but I guess they're not the ones physically like hammering the stuff together. They're just doing the designs. So, and that's a good idea. You definitely need to read the
Edge Dancer before Oathbringer. Yeah,
it's good to read the lovely novellas in between the books. So theoretically, Sanderson said he's going to get us people who did the Way of Kings Leatherbound the PDF of the next novella before book 4 comes out. So we're gonna have to see if I could squeeze that into my life. We'll see.
I know that we have planned time in the Sanderfan read along to read Edge Dancer. I think the week leading up to the live discussion of Words of Radiance, I think is how we decided to do that, right?
Yeah, because we
Yeah,
usually
that makes sense.
take a week to catch up. Like if you fall behind, you have an extra week to catch up. But instead, we just use that as like, hey, read Edge Dancer. So like you kind of stay a little bit more
Novella week
on schedule.
Working lower class women use the gloves. Upper class use the mittens, but it is a weird world build. Yeah, okay. All right. Good clarification. Cool.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ezra.
Yeah. Still weird. Still don't agree with it, but also I clearly wouldn't make it in this world where women are not allowed to eat spicy food.
Yeah, like what's that about? Why do you have to eat different food? I don't.
Yeah, why is there feminine and like masculine food items? It's a very like distinct like line of separation, which is definitely interesting. And I know that via some of Dalinar's visions, I don't remember which book we get them in, but we do see that they're not always like this. Like men used to read, women used to fight. So it's I wonder what happened in that 4,500 year time jump to like break society.
Yes, yeah, like what happened there? Yeah, I don't know. It's really interesting. I can't remember. Does Yasna wear? She wears a modesty sleeve, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. She seems like the kind of person who would want to break that standard.
No, she's just not going to marry anybody and be cool with life that way.
All right. Well, when you put it like that.
Speaking of Yasna and friends, it might be a good segue to talk about like Yasna, Elokar, Navani, Dalinar, Adolin, Renarin, and squad of the familial relation.
The Colin clan.
Colin clan. I don't think we get very much Navani in this book, but I think she's an interesting character, just as the king's mother, Galavar's widow, I think.
Yeah,
his mother.
Yeah. I think, I mean, there was so much going on with that, but my hands down favorite part of that entire arc was whenever Dalinar goes and beats Elhokar senseless and is like, listen, I'm not trying to kill you.
Mhm.
You're making me the war prince. And also, I'm boning your mom, and you're going to have to get over it. It was like, yes! Thank you!
Oh, yeah, that was wild. I think...
I was jaw dropped. I was like, he just did that.
Yeah, that was crazy. But I mean, I think at that point, like, he had no like craps. Sorry if y'all hear a weird dog like barking noises. She's
fine.
having a conniption over there. But I do think Dalinar, like, first of all, actually that might be a spoiler. I'm not going to mention that, but I think Dalinar's whole deal was like he was fed up and Elhokar was being a baby. So what else was he going to go do? And also, I think this was right after Sadeas betrayed him.
Yeah.
So he's like has no F's left to give. So
right.
He's like, I almost died. I almost died over there on that plateau. What else is new? You're making me in charge.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah. So Shallan maybe when she first met Yasna wasn't wearing one. So Shallan wasn't wearing one, or Yasna wasn't.
Maybe Yasna, because Shallan like never takes it off.
Right.
We see some dilemmas with that in the next book. Is all I'll say about that. She has to like for reasons not have one, and she like has an emotional breakdown.
God.
I think.
Right.
I think Shallan's deal though is like she is from that other place that I can't remember, and like the religious stuff is Yakoved, and the religious stuff over there has a lot more like intense meeting, which is when she meets the priest in this book. She's like, oh, all like super proper. Anywho, that's a reverse tangent there.
Fucking Capsule. Like, man, I was kind of ready to root for you. Then you had to be an idiot and go get yourself killed. Why?
Anyways.
So oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I don't know. We could stay on the religious part of it because you wanted to talk about that while we're here.
I just wanted to talk about it for a second because it comes up in one of the like graphics on the page, and it's like men's worst decisions or something like that, and it's like the hierarchy came with Vorinism, or maybe it was Vorinism's worst decisions. Do you guys remember this, or am I sounding like a crazy person?
I do remember it, but I don't, not like off the top of my head. I don't know where it is, but I try to find it.
I'm looking to see if it does not say anything about it in the table of contents, which
I don't honestly remember that happening, but I also
it was on one of the pictures. And as I was reading it physically, I actually just kind of skimmed over it, but then the audiobook makes a point to read it. And I can't remember if I think it was the hierarchy that was formed by Vorinism is what it was implying that was. Nope, that's the codes. Was like the fall of man or something like that.
Okay.
But let's go around the table while I'm looking for it. That way I don't hold up the discussion by thumbing through shit.
So Ezra was saying that Yasna wasn't wearing one the first time Shallan met her, but she does wear it when she's in court. Okay, yeah, I think I remember that. But yeah, I do think the religion is part of the like issue with all of the socioeconomic and demographic like caste system and separation things that go on in this book. We just don't know a whole lot about it yet. Because I definitely think the whole like light eyes, dark eyes, and all of this was. I think we get like hintings at the fact that like when the Radiants abandoned the world, then the religion took over and like did all the bad. So
right, yeah.
But I still like, as someone who's read the first 3 books, don't know the answer to that question yet. So
Cat.
What is it? What does it say at the top?
The history of man.
Yes, and I think the bottom one addresses Vorinism.
It just says the hierarchy. It just says the failure of Vorinism.
So that in context with the other stuff, maybe.
It's in chapter 43.
43. Okay.
Yeah, I don't have my book. Sorry, I lent it to my mom.
Well, my table of contents, because my digital version I have lists all the like pictures and stuff at the back. It's kind of cool.
That's very helpful. I would like Brandon Sanderson to please get it, or his editors or whoever, to like give me a little more context in the table of contents, right? Like there is a lot to this book and I need to make references.
My table of contents is like legit. Like
yeah,
the illustration part.
That's awesome.
That is really cool with the ebooks.
Yeah. And they're all links. So like if I needed to go to chapter 43, I would just click on it and it would take me right there.
Yes.
Nice.
So the history of man, and it says the expulsion is the loss of the tranquil halls. I imagine this is probably something to do with the codes. I'm not sure, but the desolations are war against the Voidbringers, which we hear them talk about. The desolation comes and things like this, and then
at the end of book 2.
At the end of book 2. There we have it. That's our motivation to get through Words of Radiance.
I didn't really consider that a spoiler just because like you learn about like the day countdown very early on in Words of Radiance, so I was like, yeah.
So Katie, Brandon Sanderson has started this like he says that he wants to start an initiative to get more pictures in adult books. Like adult books want pictures too. Don't take them out just because we're adults.
No, I like that Neil Gaiman has done this in a couple of his like books where he just like straight up has illustrations, and then he has it in like Neverwhere, the like full on fancy illustration version of it, Neverwhere, like Graveyard Book. All of his books have like illustrations in them. I'm like, keep on keeping on, man. I'm a fan.
Absolutely. So I don't know what this one is. It's like Aritium or something like that. Last Desolation, Defeat of the Voidbringers, and then it says the re-arching or arch. I don't know. It's in really fancy calligraphy.
Hieroglyphic or I can't tell. That's the Fall of the Knights Radiant. The Recreants. The Recreants.
There we go. Thank you. So then that was the Fall of the Knights Radiance, and then the next thing that is noted is the hierarchy, and then it says that's the failure of Vorinism. So to me,
it's the hierarchy. It's like they all got like hierarchy. Yeah, it's garbage.
But that's the thing that kind of started me down that line of thinking of like, okay, religion is the thing that screwed this up. Like that was probably offensive to say to some people, so I'm sorry, but that's not what I meant. What I meant was the introduction of Vorinism is the part where whoever wrote the history of man feels like things started to slip, like Casey was saying.
Yes. Definitely.
With my degree, I always said I want to put pictures in adult novels. Yes, thank you.
We like pictures too, especially when they're like add like Brandon Sanderson does. All of his illustrations definitely add to the story. You don't always know how, but like when you realize it, like the light bulb goes off, and it's a cool time.
Yeah, and I really like that Shalon is our way of like he explains why the pictures are there, because Shalon is drawing the pictures and you're seeing Shalon's pictures, and it's like that's so like thank you very much.
Do we want to circle back to the colons because we kind of diverted into religion?
I'm sorry. I swear. I'm going to have my therapist watch one of these lives sometimes just so she can diagnose me with ADD. It's bad.
Well,
the colons.
To be fair, we don't really we kind of like have some things we want to talk about, and then we just like go for it. And this is the first like live discussion with all three of us, right? Or did we did the end of the Mistborn book, right?
We did.
I think we did. I just forgot what that one's called.
Hero of Ages.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
that
we
one.
did. We did the Hero of Ages.
That's an interesting comment for sure, which is mostly because I do know that Sanderson is a Mormon and or Latter-day Saints, whatever the preferred terminology is for it. So I think that's an interesting thing from his perspective, especially to say. Just that's what I got from that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's weird because I had somebody tell me, it was in a Reddit forum, so Reddit, but that they didn't like Stormlight Archive because it was so centered around trying to convince people to be religious. And now I'm reading it and I'm like, that is not true. I don't. So the Colons, yes, Colon clan.
I think I put the meme in my Way of Kings review video, which is like Dalinar says he loves his sons equally, and then just like shoves Renarin off to the side.
Yeah.
Poor Narin.
Yeah, but Adolin is an interesting character. Just to talk about the brothers, he definitely seems like a snooty kid in this book, but and I didn't really like his character in this book just because of many reasons, but I do think he is a good character who is honestly trying to do the best that he knows how to do in this ridiculous world they live in, but also he's a rich snob. That's the picture I get in my brain when I think about Adolin in this book.
And a womanizer.
Oh yeah.
An intentional womanizer. It's like dude.
Yeah.
You're a dick.
He could be
cool, but you're a dick.
Yeah, I do definitely think, and y'all can comment on this when you get through Words of Radiance, he does grow up a little bit and become a much better, more lovable character.
Okay, I can dig that.
But obviously we get the most out of, I think, Dalinar in this book of the clan itself. So Dalinar has a lot going on.
I really like Dalinar. I don't know how I feel about Navani. She's clever enough to turn things to her advantage instead of being as loyal as Dalinar is. And that worries me for him because Dalinar is now someone that I'm like, don't die. Don't do that to me.
Well, we know he doesn't die at least through book 3.
Because that is his backstory of a book.
Yep.
I do like all the colons, yeah.
I think my favorite colon is Yasna. I mean, I know that's kind of like where this all started, but it's a hard sell between Yasna and Dalinar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just gonna say with I think how I lost my train of thought, but I was gonna say with Dalinar, I like the whole Blackthorn persona, and I'm very intrigued about what the heck the thrill is when they're in battle. Is that just adrenaline on adrenaline, or?
I have a theory.
No.
So I think that's something that he bargained to get, and that's why he can't remember his wife.
Thank you for bringing it up, because I didn't remember if that was in this book that we heard about his wife that he can't remember. So I was kind of not.
And to a point, whenever someone talks about her, it was so weird because I stopped at that point on the page and I was like, what the fuck is that? What does that even mean? And I jumped down and I was like, oh, that's yes. So I think that's what I think the thrill is. I could be completely wrong.
So my only thing on that theory is that I do agree that he definitely bargained something for the loss of the memory and existence of his wife and all of that. But the thrill is something experienced by other people as well.
Yeah, come with the shard plate or whatever. Isn't the thrill that's where that comes from?
That might be it. I didn't actually think about that, where if it comes from the shards.
Interesting theory.
I think that's, from what I remember, that's the only people that mention it are the ones that have the shard plate and the shard blades.
So who else did I miss that experiences the thrill?
I think I don't think Sadius does because I don't think we see him
Adolin does,
fight,
doesn't
but Adeline, yeah.
So I think
Adolin
it might
does.
be
Okay.
a family thing too, because like his dad and son. But yeah, I know it's not just Eleanor. So.
Could he have wished it for his house?
I don't know.
Maybe. Interesting.
That's
I'll be right back.
Interesting, yeah. Okay.
No, yeah,
well,
but Dalinar is definitely a cool character who I'm honestly really excited to reread Oathbringer because it's been so long since I read the books the first time that I'm like, I don't actually remember like all the stuff. So I'm excited to see like what we get of his backstory because he definitely becomes like in this, and we see him going forward in the second book be like really trying to make a difference and do all the stuff with all the people. And his visions are increasingly cool and helpful for like world building purposes.
He still has them in Words of Radiance then. Okay. See, we came to a kind of conclusion with them in the first book, so I wondered if it was sort of like this, for lack of a better analogy, kind of like the satellite that we put out into space that just sends out this communication. And so I was like, is he getting a signal from the gods or something? Like, are the heralds trying to talk to him through some thing that just plays on a loop?
I'm not going to comment on that.
Casey's spoiler dance.
What do y'all think about Elokar? He's the one we haven't. Renarin doesn't have a whole lot in this book, so we don't know a whole lot about him. But Elokar, what y'all think? I think he's insane and like like nervous and all that.
I think Elokar is like he gets on my nerves, and he's. I don't think things are going to go well for him because I think his paranoia is going to come back to bite him in the butt.
No, I agree. We didn't get a lot from him in this book, but he's not my favorite.
He is spoiled too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. I kind of want him to get a little bit of a bitch slap. That's why I was so happy whenever Dalinar went in and just started hating him. It was like, yes.
Yep, Ezra, that's a good statement.
He grows in the first book. He sucks, but later I like him better. Okay. Without saying anything else. Fair enough. Renarin, I know we didn't get a lot of Renarin, but I'm excited to see where he goes because it's like he is, like you said, Casey, the forgotten son of sorts. So it's like, is he going to turn out to be evil or is he going to turn out to be a badass? I'm excited to see.
Renarin's growth is really awesome, and the way it happens is really cool. Again, obviously, I'm not going to say anything, but I like where it goes, and it's good for everybody, so to speak. But
it's good for everyone. I love that.
Yeah, Renarin definitely. Like, I still am not really sure. Like, so Kat, you tell me what we get about Renarin in this book, so I don't accidentally say something because I don't remember. Did we? Oh no, we lost Kat.
She froze. Okay.
Am I back?
Yes, you're back.
Yay. Okay. So what we get from Renarin, from what I remember, and Sammy, help me if I'm wrong, but he's the second son. Dalinar wants to give him shard plate. He has a condition of sorts. Yeah. He's not battle-minded. And then he is aware enough to know that Adolin is being a douche.
Pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty much all we got.
Okay. What I was going to say then, like, his medical condition is very interesting to me. Because now that we know he has a condition of sorts, because I didn't want to. It's like Ezra said, it's really hard to say anything about him. I was going to
say it was only very lightly touched on. It was just like, you can't be out here because you have a condition. That's all we're going to say about it.
Yeah, the medical condition is definitely an interesting thing to me, and like, I think that's like we mentioned earlier that Sanderson writes characters with mental issues and mental like disabilities and things like this.
His depression.
Shalon like legit has multiple personalities. It's a great time. But
Ooh. Ooh, I hope that plays into the fact that she killed her dad, because I need us to talk about that too, because that was like, yes.
Which we definitely get like a glimpse of in the first book. But I think the like physical disability that we I think that's what like Brandon Sanderson is trying to do with Renara and Runnerin. But
Okay.
I honestly don't know like how much we get like details on that on.
Keeps putting up these faces.
So it's a great time. But no, yeah, Runnerin is in this book at least, she's like almost like an innocent bystander because he doesn't do a whole lot. But
yeah, and then he gets some action in the second book. Cool. Okay. Well, we'll see how it does. So Shalon,
keep reading.
What is it?
Lots of reasons to keep reading. Like that's why I'm getting to this live show is like this first one was really short, but all these things are going to happen in books 2 and 3, but I can't tell you what it is, so you just have to read it. Like,
I like that. I like that Shalon like admitted to the fact that she killed her dad, because it was implied really heavily.
But you didn't know for sure.
Yeah, but it was like, but did she really? She seemed so sweet. Like, why would she do that? And then it also makes me think that her brothers were in on it. That perhaps a shard blade was used, because apparently she has one of those. Oh, and then another thing I wanted to ask about Shalon, because questions. How can she wield a shard blade if she doesn't have a shard plate?
You can have one without the other, yeah?
You can have the shard plate without the sword for sure, but I think it was said that the sword itself.
Real quick, so I know where we're at and don't spoil anything. Where does she wield the sword, or where did we hear about that?
She just talks about, was it whenever she did the goblet thing? Whenever she turned a goblet to blood. And
okay, is
that when it was?
But
okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just say you'll have to wait and see on that one, because we don't really know what she actually did with that at this point, with the whole like turning a goblet to blood. And I know her and Jasna have started to talk about like the thing they can do where they don't need the whatever the metal thing they wear on their hand is.
The soul caster.
Yeah, where they don't actually need the soul caster, but y'all are gonna have to wait and see, because that's a big ass spoiler for many things if I tell you the answer right now.
Okay, all right. So then, so I don't remember where we started with this. Sorry.
Yeah. And yes, Ezra, I agree with you. I'm trying really hard, but they are asking the deep question.
They're the ones that I have.
That's why I'm just like, nope.
Okay.
Nope.
All right. So did we cover all of the colons then? We keep jumping from the colons to Shalon.
I think we did. I think we did. I think something interesting is, what did y'all think about like the part where Dalinar was like, y'all saved my life, I'm now buying all of the Bridgemen.
Yes.
Yeah, and how he bought them. I was just like, wait, you did what? Yeah, that was really interesting, because he just gave up his. We're spoilery, right? Right now, like we're doing spoilers.
Oh yeah.
Spoilers for Way of Kings spoilers. Way of Kings spoilers. Trying not to do other spoilers.
Right.
If we're doing a discussion, and I think Casey mentioned this at the beginning, if we are in a book discussion, I cannot promise no spoilers for that book, because the point is to discuss the book, and I think we tried to keep it semi-unspoilery for Hero of Ages, but it was hard because, third book in a series and all that. But yeah, if you're here to talk about a book discussion, you are here for spoilers.
So when Dalinar gave up his shard blade for all of the Bridgemen, I was just like, okay, I mean, I feel like it's an equal trade, because he's going to make, or I hope anyway, he's going to make their lives so much better, make their living situation so much better, that I feel like giving a shard blade up for that many human lives is, I feel like he got off cheap, to be honest. Like, his shard blade is cheap for all those human lives.
I think that the fact that he gave up his shard blade for Kaladin is going to end up playing off. Like, I think that's the big thing, because we've seen that Kaladin can do this like binding thing, similarly to Seth. So I think that's going to end up working in his favor a lot. And then we've also seen that Kaladin has taken in other people from Bridge Crew, so his people are going to like explode.
Yes, is what I'm going to say to all this. Yes.
and I think it was wonderful for all those reasons, but terrible because Sadeas has a shard blade now.
But he doesn't have a million armies to like run off and
now he has to find all these new slaves to carry all of his bridges.
exactly.
He has been fairly neutered, but now he has a shard blade, so it's like, oh fuck! You gave the villain the laser. Like, why did you do that?
Didn't we just mention that you can't use a shard blade without shard blade? And he doesn't have
shard blade though.
He had shard blade, and he had that weird longbow thing.
Oh yeah, okay.
Oh, I forgot about the longbow.
Yeah, I always thought that was like a magic shard longbow. Apparently not. Ooh. But no, yeah, I think all y'all are saying all the important things, and I was just gonna mention on the spoiler part that because I was muted for a second. Was that we obviously are gonna have spoilers for Way of Kings, but we're trying not to have spoilers for the rest of the Cosmere books, which is why I was very vague about Warbreaker stuff. But also, yeah, there's that.
Yeah, and then, you know, similarly, and I think reasonably with Words of Radiance, it's going to be like, you know, we're going to do our best to stick to Words of Radiance, but
there will be spoilers, obviously, for Way of Kings, because if you're here for that one, yeah.
And we did go pretty spoilery with the Mistborn Era 1 stuff. But I feel like in order to have that discussion, it needed to be done that way. We didn't get too spoilery, I guess, but
I mean, I was vague about a lot of things, and I definitely hinted at some stuff, but I think it's hard to like discuss the things with me knowing all the information. But anywho, y'all will still be very shocked and surprised at what actually happens in Words of Radiance. But yeah, what I was gonna say about the whole like there's people walking in and out of my house, which is why I was like muted and talking for a second.
Totally
but because I'm like
life is happening all around us.
I'm like legit.
COVID-19 has provided, you know.
I'm legit in my living room. It's fine. This is where my desk is because I don't have an office. But what I was gonna say is the whole like Dalinar buying the Bridgeman was like a cool move, obviously, and very powerful, but the whole with him giving away his shard blade, that was definitely like a big deal for the Blackthorn because like his deal was he was a warrior. He wasn't really a diplomat, and he mentions that like Galavar was a diplomat. I was the guy who like used the sword and like had the thrill and all that jazz. Can't remember my wife.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a big deal for him.
So I don't know if I can say this or not. We see similarities between Dalinar and Gavilar a lot through the first book. And I mean, it's like in the first 3 pages, so I'm just going to say it for Words of Radiance. I don't feel like it's a spoiler, but you see also that Gavilar does not have his shard blade anymore. Also, I think, right?
Well, did you say Galavar?
Galavar, yeah.
Well, Galavar is dead.
Well, yes, but whenever we are looking at him through Yasna's eyes, she points out that he has... Yes.
Well, so he doesn't technically have the shard blade, but it is still the King shard blade because Elokar has his own. You see more of like the shard blade moving around and stuff in the second book. It's not with anybody else, basically. It's just like it's used for training purposes. That's not really a spoiler. That it's no one else has Galavar's shard blade, if that's what you were wondering.
Well, I was just trying to figure out like because Dalinar gave up his shard blade. And so I feel like maybe there were some similarities between their reasons for giving up the shard blade. I don't know if that's true or not. I also know that we are thinking a little bit about Dalinar's bargain, where he cannot remember his wife anymore, and I believe that he and Gavilar were on a Parshendi, exploration quest together. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, I think they were.
So I guess I'm kind of wondering if it happened to Gavilar too. Like if he decided that, like if maybe he had the thrill and he decided that he didn't want it to be a part of his life anymore, and that's why he put down his shard blade. I feel like it was an easy step for Dalinar to make, I guess is what I'm getting around to. Like as much as to the reader it looks completely shocking and it's like, you did what? For Dalinar, I feel like it was an easy decision at the moment.
I think it was because he's trying to like do the whole unite them situation, and like he has the visions from the gods or whatever. So that's definitely what was in his mind at that point. And then it was a huge deal because that was Sadius's weakness, and you kind of this is not like actually a spoiler. You kind of figure out how people actually gain shard blades, because the only example we get in Words of Radiance is Amaram and Kaladin's experience.
Fuck Amaram. I'm just gonna get like
definitely.
I want to stab his name every time I hear it.
That's fine. I definitely that makes total sense. But you kind of see how like the process for gaining new shard blades, because there's a limited number of them. So the fact that now Sadius has one, which he couldn't gain because you kind of have to have a shard blade to get another shard blade, is what I'm trying to allude to here.
Okay.
So
that's interesting because the shard blades, there were only 10, right? Because it was the heralds.
Was it 10 or 12?
Heralds. Was it 10 or 12?
It was 10, but there was only 9 because the one guy stayed, or they let the one go. But shard blades are not what you think, so just
be prepped for that. So the end. We talked a little bit about the ending of the book earlier, but since we're talking about the number of shard blades, and we know that the Parshendi have one, we know that Dalinar used to have one, now Sadius has it. We know that Adolin has one. And do we know anyone else who has it?
There's the King's shard blade, so Elhokar has one.
Elhokar,
right.
Galavar's is still in play.
Yeah.
Other high princes have one, but you don't specifically know who, I think, at this point.
Okay. All right. So I guess it's interesting to me that we can track the number of shard blades, and then at the end of the book, one of the last things we see is someone rushing into a town with a shard blade, and then whenever they pass out and or die, I'm not sure which one they did, the shard blade falls out of their hand, but it doesn't disappear.
That means they died. Also, Zeth has one, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. He does have one.
Yeah. That was the other person I couldn't remember. 5. You should highlight Ezra's Mark Shardblade and Shardblade relationship is complicated. That one's funny. The next one, Mark
Shardblade and Shardplate relationship as fair, very fair. I love that.
No, there's a lot obviously to still learn. I know we were just talking, but on the note of the Shardblade comment real quick, there's a lot obviously to still learn about them, and it all starts to come together in the next book. And back to the ending, if the Shardblade stays, or the Shardblade stays there, that means the person is dead. If it disappears, they're still alive.
Oh, so, okay. I thought
because they have to like call it back with the 10 breaths thing.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe it wasn't a herald. That was where my brain jumped to. It's like, oh, this is the herald that they left behind, and now he's been released because the desolation's happening again, and he ran in, and the Shardblade didn't disappear because he still owns it. It wasn't put in the ground at the beginning of the book, so I thought maybe it was like a special shard blade. Damn, my theories are falling through.
It's honestly, with how vague this book is about a lot of things, it's really hard to have like substantiated theories at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
I'm wearing the sweater because it was like fall weather out this morning, but now it's like 85 degrees because I live in Texas and I'm like dying.
I had on a hoodie this morning. One of the sayings in Kentucky is if you don't like the weather in Kentucky, just wait 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a saying in just like every state because humans and weather don't get along. But anyway, so I wore a hoodie this morning to the farmer's market. And by the time I left the farmer's market, which was like all of 10 minutes because you're not allowed to loiter right now, I had to take off the hoodie when I got in the car. And then by the time I got home, and I live literally like 3 minutes from the farmer's market, it's almost embarrassing that I drove. But I got home and then took all the stuff from the farmer's market inside, went and sat on my front porch with my t-shirt. It was really freaking bizarre.
Yikes.
It's like 50 degrees and rainy here, so like it's not cold, but you don't necessarily want to spend a lot of time outside.
No, this morning it was like, so obviously 50 degrees is cold for me because I live in Texas, but it was like 60 degrees like when I got up this morning. I was like, ooh, time to sit outside with my sweater, my blanket, my coffee. Like that's 60 degrees. But
That's
now
awesome.
but it's literally like 83 degrees at this point, so it's a good time. Hi, Carolyn.
Carolyn!
Welcome. Yeah. Do y'all have a favorite like line or quote or anything from the book that you made a note of? I obviously like don't have my book with me, and I also again lost this notebook at chapter 44. So the whole Kaladin saying the words and stuff at the end, I don't have written down, but
I have 2 tabs that aren't the map. I tabbed the map because by the time I got around to the second round of interludes, I was tired of not knowing where it was. Tab the map so I can easily get back to it.
But I had a few quotes that I wrote down prior to page 463 that I liked, so I like to
go for it. Let's hear it.
Well, okay, which one do I want to read? I think I like, there's obviously a lot of them, but I liked page 50 and 215, the quotes from there the best, which is page 50 is, that is what you had to do. Learn to survive, brace yourself, weather the storm. That's a good like statement to live by. And then page 215 was authority doesn't come from a rank Kaladin. And this is when he's talking to Syl. So where does it come from? He asks Syl, or Syl asks him, from the men who give it to you. That is the only way to get it. I thought that was a very interesting statement.
Yeah, absolutely. I like Ezra whenever Wit was talking to Renarin. Yes, I liked that. I like that he was ribbing him. It was something that made me think that Renarin was going to have more of a bigger part to play, because Wit was saying like, "You're better than what you're doing."
I also have marked, which is a quote from Dalinar, the prize is not worth the cost. Oh, okay. The means by which we achieve victory are as important as the victory itself. Frat snap for that one.
Frat snap.
Well, that's like weird.
You kids and your music.
My music.
I don't know what a frat snap is.
It's just this, and then you like you snap the fingers between right here.
Oh, okay.
It's weird. It's weird. I don't know. That was a thing at the college I went to a few years back. So,
my kids say things like they're gonna dance the floss, and I'm like, what is that? It's a Fortnite dance, and then they do it. It's like, okay, well, yeah, I have seen that everywhere, but I didn't know it was from Fortnite. Sorry, I'm old and weird. I'm not actually that old. I'm only 29 still.
Yes, that was gold.
Yes.
No, I have a like thing. I don't have the page number, but I commented in our Discord for something from Words of Radiance that is the funniest line I've ever heard out of a Sanderson novel. So I when y'all get to that part, obviously, like I look forward to seeing your reactions to that. There's a few very funny parts in actually in Words of Radiance that I just are chef's kiss, so to speak. That's the meme
Yeah.
people use, like chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss, yes. My ballsier friends actually do the chef's kiss, but I can't ever trust myself to actually do it with any finesse. So
I don't actually know what it is, so there's that. I'm gonna just
no. It's like the thing where, you know, there was some Italian chef. It's probably culturally insensitive, to be honest, but the Italian chef is like, it's magnifique, blah, or that's French. And there's a thing. So, see, that's why I don't do it.
They're magnifique.
All right, anyway. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, well, so I said some of the quotes I marked. Did y'all mark any quotes down from the book?
Yeah, I was gonna redirect to Sammi because I have two. But
I got the download off my tablet and I gotta get it back. But I definitely was highlighting things throughout, like the first half until I got like
enthralled.
Book to yeah. There it is. You can go ahead and go, Kat, while I'm looking at stuff.
Okay. All right. So blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna have to figure out who this was first. Maybe that's not my.
Well, I have one more quote while y'all figure out your life.
Yeah. Go with that. Thank you.
I wasn't prepared.
And page 462 was too many scholars. This is something Jasna said to Shalon. Too many scholars think of research as a purely cerebral pursuit. If we do nothing with the knowledge we gain, we have wasted our study. Like that's academia where they just like sit there and like research things and don't do anything about it. I'm like, yes, queen.
So this quote is from Syl, and I'm gonna jump up a couple of lines just to give it some perspective. But Syl says, people are discord, and then Cal asks, what does that mean? And she says, you all act differently and think differently. Nothing else is like that. Animals act alike, and offspring are, in a sense, virtually the same individual. There's harmony in that, but not in you. It seems that no two of you can agree on anything. All the world does as it is supposed to, except for humans. Maybe that's why you so often want to kill each other.
Damn.
It was like, damn, I feel called out in this moment.
A lot of the stuff I highlighted was like figuring out the world. So I don't know if I actually have any like legit quotes.
Oh, you have COVID. I'm sorry, but Brainiac, I hope that you're like curled up with some friggin' tea in a blanket, girl, because you need it.
Shalon sass is great, Ezra. That is a mood.
Yes, she's good at that.
Well, funny enough, I found this Goodreads page with quotes from Words of Radiance, and I'm going to just like low-key post here in the chat if anyone wants to go grab some quotes. But I think the whole like the words that the people have to say to get the stuff is also pretty cool. I believe we get the journey before destination and stuff. And I'm trying to find the exact verbiage. I don't know where it is.
Yeah, but Brainiac, I hope you're feeling a little
before.
Makes me want to give you a cup of tea.
Okay.
So I liked what Liren said too. Somebody has to start. Somebody has to step forward and do what is right because it is right. If nobody starts, then others cannot follow. Yeah, I really like that.
Good. Life before death, strength before weakness, journey before destination. That was their motto and was the first ideal of the immortal words. There were 4 others.
So let's chat for just a second because we've still got quite a bit of time left about the codes.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
let me find. I can bring that up with my handy dandy table of contents.
Love that. Love that so much. Okay, so did you guys watch Blue's Clues?
Yes, but obviously I was a youth and therefore don't remember much. But what's up?
Well, that's what I think of when somebody says handy dandy. I'm like, my handy dandy notebook.
Book.
You know? Steve, you always wore green. What is it?
The Codes of War. Is that what we're looking for?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Also found a link to the PDF version of that if you don't have the book on you. Here you go, chat.
So, do you want to send that to me in the Discord chat, and then I think I can actually share my screen?
Well, I just commented it on the YouTube, but I gotta find.
No,
the
it's
Discord.
okay. Just give it a minute then. And then
Here, I got you. There we go. There we go.
I think very clearly I cannot abide by the, not drinking while you're at work.
Well, I don't drink while I'm at work, but you're an author, so I get how that would maybe help you.
It's like it's almost bad, honestly. Like sometimes I'm just like, you know what? This scene needs a glass of alcohol.
A glass of miscellaneous alcohol.
Yes. So let's see if I share my screen. I've never done this before, guys. Screen sharing works best on a good computer. All right, let's see. What's this do? Don't show these tips again. You're distracting me.
I think the codes are a general good idea because it's in the on the premise of a military organization. So
does that work?
That does work. Wow.
Great.
I think some of the codes are definitely I think in this world necessary because they've turned war into a game, which if we've noticed that with the High Princes at this point, and obviously when you're fighting, you shouldn't be drunk or needless arguments, squabbles, whatever. But I think there's obviously Dalinar takes it almost a step too far, if that makes sense, because
he's a bit more of the rubber band effect.
You should be able to do that stuff in your free time. Adolin should be able to go duel for fun, when they're not actively fighting. But I think the problem is that this war is so unorthodox in the way it's actually taking place that it's hard for Dalinar to have an off switch because the whole war is a game, and therefore if you were in an actual war, you wouldn't have all this leisure time to just hang out. If that makes sense.
Well, yeah, and I think you bring up an interesting point there because I think because Dalinar is having these visions that clearly relate to the conflict that they're in now, at least in his mind, it's difficult for him to put those guards down because he's like, something's happening because I keep seeing things that happened 2,000 years ago. So I think it makes sense that he invokes the codes, but I do agree with you that there's a lot of them that it's but they're not on duty. Leave them alone.
Yeah, the inspiration, the officer will wear his uniform when in public to look ready for war and to give strength to his troops. But why? You shouldn't have to always wear your uniform. Do you sleep in it? How that works?
I'm don't Marines in America get the weekend off usually if they're not actively fighting battle? Doing things?
Ezra has another good quote. Shalon says, the outdoors, I visited that mythical place once.
Yeah, that's
life story.
2020 right there.
2020.
You broke Cat, I think.
I was like, oh yeah, okay, that's 2020. Got it. Okay,
cool. I think it's funny that Sadeas doesn't have any problem adopting the always wearing your shard plate. That I feel like that's very telling in that some of the codes are not. I feel like the codes are founded in some human concepts that are.
Yeah, I mean the restraint is interesting because we do have that moment in the book where I think it's Sadeas says something to this was it Renarin? And then Dalinar's like, you didn't just say that, did you? And then Sadeas like backs off a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, the whole, I think that comes from like the code of war. You're not supposed to like, you know, Dalinar could have easily just like cut his head off for that, you know. Like.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, that is a deal.
Has anyone else gotten the crazy impulse to get a glyph tattooed? If I was someone who got tattoos, then I would, but I am deathly terrified of needles. Like, I cry when I have to get my blood taken, and that is not an exaggeration.
I also at this point don't have any tattoos, but I do have a few bookish ones in mind, and the Bridge 4 glyph that we get to see in Words of Radiance, I'm definitely not opposed to if you catch my drift.
See, the interesting thing and tangent about tattoos, I have a lot of ideas that I think would be cool, but to me, I would rather be able to see them on my walls as like pictures versus on my body, because depending on where I put it, I might not be able to see it all the time. And if it's something I really like, then I want to be able to see it all.
Yes, I'm very excited for my posters and stickers and all that jazz. We're gonna eventually get from that like Way of Kings Leatherbound Edition Kickstarter that I didn't actually buy the Leatherbound, but I bought everything else.
I will be definitely showing off my Leatherbound when it gets here. I'm freaking excited about that.
Yes.
So, jumping back to the Alethi codes real quick, it seems to me that Sadeas does not abide by. Clearly, he doesn't abide by the honor one, right?
Right. Yeah.
Officer will not abandon allies on the field. Big break there. And then the officer will require no action of his soldiers that he would not be willing to do himself. And so I think that brings kind of a different light to Dalinar's conflict with Sadeas overall, because those last two are super important, and Sadeas doesn't abide by either of those.
Yeah. I think Sadeas as a character just generally is likes to pretend he's all kind and proper, and like was Galavar's friend is working with Dalinar, but then obviously he is definitely like a master manipulator. He connives. He has his own plans in motion that you have to like understand and make sure you can. Like he has his own like subliminal plan that where he is the most powerful despite what happens to everybody else. So he obviously like cares for where he ends up more than like how it affects other people. So like he likes to pretend he would abide by the codes, so that way Dalinar can't like you mentioned chop off his head in the middle of the dinner. But he also is going to make sure he comes out on top, or he's going to attempt to at least. So
Blackthorn would have done it. He would have chopped off Sadeas' head in the middle of dinner. Ezra says he's run out of wall space.
Maybe that's why.
Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and take down the codes there.
No, I think the codes are definitely just interesting. Like, as I do think Dalinar takes it to an extreme, but we just generally in society we see things taken to one extreme or another. There's never just like a partial. Like if you're gonna follow the code, you're gonna go deep, and you're never gonna let them go. But
there's so many conflicting philosophies in this world, and I think that's one of the things that is most fascinating about me, or about it for me, because you've got Vorinism and you've got the Alethi codes, and then clearly there's a completely different way of thinking in Yakoved, and then the Shin assassin really hates that he has to walk on stone, and it's like we think we're divided, you know?
Right, yeah. There's just so many different aspects of this book, and I think that's one of the reasons why it makes it feel so slow, is you feel like every time you turn around, you're learning completely new, you know?
The learning curve is huge with Stormlight Archive.
Just a real quick interruption. If anyone from the audience has any questions they want us to talk about, please let us know. I forgot to mention that earlier, but as we've talked about everything we have had officially on the list, if y'all have anything we missed, just let me know. Let us know, and we'll definitely chat about it.
Yeah, for real, please do, because we purposely we wanted to keep it just very general discussion based, so that you guys could more or less drive the conversation. So please pipe up.
Pipe up and let us know. The culture definitely. The like on that note, Kat and Ezra, the cultures and the like, just for lack of a better way to describe it, like all the demographic things we see in this book and how different people do things is very interesting. And I really am wondering if we're gonna like hear more about like rocks people, for example. And I know that there's a lot of stuff that happens in the other books that I'm trying to make sure I separate properly in my brain for this discussion. But it's like just kind of like learning more about like Giacovet and that city that Yasna and Shalon were in the like library where they were doing all that research and stuff.
What is that called?
I honestly don't know. But like all this stuff on the Shattered Plains, we don't actually know what the main like capital city is in Kholinar, because they're not actually ever there. So there's like definitely a lot we haven't seen of the world at this point in this book, and it's all very Carbons, yeah. Yeah. So like that place is definitely interesting. There's weird stuff all over the place in this world, and we haven't seen a lot of it yet. And even through like Words of Radiance, I haven't seen a lot of it yet. So I'm very interested to see how the rest of the books in this series like builds out all of that.
See, that I think that's an interesting point, because you're right. I don't think we've seen like the northwest side of the map a whole lot. There's still a lot in the northeast that we haven't seen. We haven't seen anything of the Frostlands, even though we have seen Carburanth. So there's a lot there. He did make a point to point out the Pure Lake, though, with the guy who was the fisherman.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, why is that one important?
What have we gotten about the Voidbringers in this book yet? Because maybe we can talk about that a little bit more, but I'll let Kat, you lead that starting discussion so I make sure to not spoil anything.
Let's see. Let me get through this comment real fast. Blurred on the end of the book. Okay.
And book 2.
So
I think they may have just been introduced. Unless I'm forgetting a huge chunk, I don't think we have a lot of information on them. But
the only thing that really happened with the Voidbringers is that Yasna has revealed to Shalon her theory that the Voidbringers are the Parshendi.
Okay.
And I feel like, as the reader at this
point... And the Parshmen, correct?
And the Parshmen, yes. Because Shalon goes through this whole thing of, like, it almost reminded me of cyborg movies where they're like, what happens whenever they decide they don't want to serve humanity anymore? They're very deeply integrated into the society. But that's pretty much what we have. I suspect that it's misinformed to a degree, but that's what we have about Voidbringers so far.
Okay, in that case, yep. That's all we got.
I love how Casey and Ezra are just like, right. I've lived in this world for so many years. I can't. So let's see.
Anything else we want to discuss, or anybody in the comments have anything? I must have chat because I've been watching too much Twitch.
Twitch is something that I clearly need to get into because I like video games, but I haven't gotten there yet. I don't know. I don't watch a lot of stuff, which sounds weird, but I don't.
I watch a lot of YouTube, but that's only so I get more booktube ideas because I'm out of ideas.
Man, we need to chat about some booktube ideas because I have some things that I would like to do that would be fun.
Well,
More
maybe-
fun if other people were doing them.
Well, maybe we can chat about it when we're not live on this.
No, yeah. That's what I meant. Like, we need
yeah.
to chat about it outside of right now. Discussing codes. Oh, yay.
Yeah, Dalinar does definitely like
Ooh,
lean on that
yeah.
guilt, especially because he was drunk when Galavar died at that party.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's a good point. So perhaps that's like a manifestation of the fear of his own alcoholism. Just the codes in general, Ezra. Casey, you're on the YouTube thing. Are these comments just super delayed, or is that like?
They're not super. Some of them are faster than others. They don't come in super
There's
delayed.
a disconnect.
It's like it looks like it's like a 1 minute delay, basically.
Okay. But yeah, I think just all the codes in general and thoughts on how they're seen too. They seem to be largely forgotten, except by Gavilar and Dalinar. And then I know Sadius asked for a copy of the book there towards the end, but
Of Way of Kings.
yeah, so I guess that's something. Go ahead.
I do find it interesting that the book title, because we haven't really talked about that, is kind of has two meanings. It's the title of the book in the story, but I also feel like it is because you're introduced to so many different like people, but also like wanting to bring the High Princess together,
Mm-hmm.
and then the fact that the king died, in the beginning, and you have this new king, and just the way I'm gonna make it funny, the way the kings interact with the world. It's interesting that there's two meanings to the title, if that makes sense.
Right, yeah, like not only the Way of Kings as in describing what the Way of Kings is within the context of the story itself and actual object, but then also the philosophy of several kingdoms across the whole map. Yeah, that is really cool. Something I hadn't put together.
Yeah, I do think that the way the books are named is interesting. I believe we do know what Dalinar's Shard Blade was named, right?
Correct. Yeah, he mentions it like one of the first things he says.
It's named Oathbringer.
Yeah.
Dalinar's is Oathbringer.
Yeah, so obviously the third book is named that. I'll let y'all figure out what book 2 is named for, but the way the books are named, I think it's very intentional, obviously. I mean, obviously. But at the same time, it's just that it's good.
It sort of happens to all the Stormlight art. Yeah.
It's honestly a fairly similar naming scheme to how Way of Kings is a book and something else in the book. Like Words of Radiance is very similar to that, and I'll let y'all find out what things are. But
I am excited about Words of Radiance for that reason, because I feel like the Radiance were such a focus in the Way of Kings that for that to be the next one in line is very exciting.
And I think the title, obviously I haven't read it yet clearly, but just knowing what Oathbringer is and knowing that it's Dalinar's book, I think I've pretty much already figured out, and I could be completely off base, and I'm not going to mention it, but I feel like I've already figured out the second meaning of Oathbringer. Knowing, knowing, if you think about it, knowing those two things, you're just like, okay, well, I think I figured it out, but I'm excited to know if I'm right or not.
Well, I honestly couldn't tell you at this point because I haven't restarted Oathbringer yet. So I'll let you know when y'all get there.
Okay.
Did y'all mention your star ratings of this book? I'm just like, that's what people do in book discussions. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars.
Well, yeah, I think probably 5 stars for me too. I mean, I could sit here and pick it apart, like with the Kaladin flashbacks thing and it taking a long time to explain what happened to Tien. But that's such a subjective thing that, I mean, the entire book, the book in its entirety, if you finish the entire book, it is genius.
Yeah.
I can totally see why people would DNF. I can totally see why people would DNF and then be like, it was the worst book that I ever. I guess I can't probably see that. Like,
it can't be the worst.
Yeah, if it's the worst book you've ever read, then I don't think we can be friends. But
yeah, I think I did. I mean, I trust Sanderson at this point because I've read four of his novels, and then all of his YA books. So at this point, it's up to 9. So I trust him. And I'd heard that it was a slow book, you know. So I think I knew I was going to give it 5 stars, but partway through I was like, oh God, this is so long. Like, come on. Like, you know, it was, so like halfway through I was like, do I trust him? And then by the end I was like, all right, dude, I'm good. We're on good terms again.
No, yeah, it's definitely like, I think with Brandon Sanderson, if you've made it, I started on the Starlight Archive. Like, that was Way of Kings was the first book I read by him, and I'm willing to give fantasy books a little more time to like get started. And I think when you're reading adult high fantasy, that's like an expectation you have to like have. But I think, and I don't like, I obviously didn't DNF it. I love his books. It's fine. But at the same time, I'm like, I had a great appreciation for the way he was writing the characters, the things that they were going through. And like, even if it was a little slow the first time, but I was still just very like, I wanted to know what happened. I knew there was something bigger going on that we just didn't know about. And I think especially on this reread, I loved it so much more. Like, I was just like, yeah, I know what's going to happen. This is great. And I read it so much faster the second time, even though I was like sort of annotating it, but like, because I wasn't like dragging my feet as much because I was like, what is happening? And all that jazz. So I do think it's definitely like, if you can appreciate like good writing, yeah, it's a little slow, but it's not boring.
I think the thing for me about it being slow is that slowness is because you're getting to know the characters. Like, you're getting super intimate with each person in the cast.
Right. Yeah. Well, I feel like that's very important in the later books, or it wouldn't have happened. You know.
Right. Yeah. Well, and then I think even with the Mistborn series, it was a little bit slow, but like, you were getting to know Vin, and you were getting to know Kaladin, and you were getting to know every member of the. Did I say Kaladin?
Yes.
Kelsier, yes. Kelsier, and anyway, so you're getting to know all these members of the crew so that you can see how the plot affects each and every character as the books go on.
But the interesting thing with Mistborn is you're also, alongside all of that, you're also getting the magic system through action. So I didn't think the Mistborn books were slow at all. Maybe the first 50 pages of Mistborn were slow until like the crew gets together. But once the crew's together and Vin's figuring out, you know, the Mistborn stuff, I couldn't put the book down. You know, whereas with Way of Kings, I was slogging for the first 500 pages, and then I was like, okay, now that I finally know what's going on and I've got a basis, like, the last 500 pages were fine, but it's a very drastic difference between Mistborn, The Final Empire, and The Way of Kings.
Yeah.
Yeah, Words of Radiance definitely doesn't have as much of the slog because you've already like know the world and everybody's kind of coming together, which we see at the end of that book. There's obviously some drama that happens at the beginning that slows it down a little bit for like everybody coming together, but I mean, is
that time spent in character development? That's the thing I'm curious about, because like we started with Yasna, right, who we don't really know much about outside of her interactions with Shallan. So that made me think that, okay, first 100 pages of this book are going to be a little bit more character development, and then
yeah, they're definitely more character development, and it's very Shallan focused as it is her book. Well, and Yasna as well at the beginning. But yeah, I would say it's definitely like the pace is a lot faster because you already know like the world, you know the war. You don't have to be introduced to the whole conflict with Galavar and everything. So Woohoo!
Yeah, there's less of the overall politics of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is everything that I had to talk about.
I agree. Yep, that's everything I got.
Yeah. That was a good discussion, though. I feel like the next book will be a lot more. When we discuss the Words of Radiance, it'll be a lot easier because we'll be able to relate the things that happened back to the second book, and we'll definitely fill up the full 2 hours of conversation with that
Yeah.
one.
Right. Yeah. It's been hard to keep driving it without driving the same point over and over again, with this being such a developmental book.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to give it like another 60 seconds to make sure we don't have questions come through in the chat, and then I am good to go.
Likewise, yeah.
Same. Yeah, I had a lot
We
of
just
fun.
had somebody else pop in.
It was a good discussion, and I think I'm really excited to start Words of Radiance. So probably we'll start it sometime this week, just so I stay on target.
I'm already a little bit off target, but I only have to read like 18 pages a day to stay on target. So,
Yeah. Well, we don't technically start it till tomorrow, right?
Right, yeah, but I plan my books from like for 30 days, like how many pages I have to read every 30 days.
Got it.
Yeah, and I need to start building in more like weekend time, like times where I'm not actually reading.
Yep.
All right, I'm not seeing anything else. Oh wait.
Thanks for being here, Ezra.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. I like whenever Cosmere vets join in. It makes the discussion a little bit more exciting for me personally. Oh, well, that's okay. It's okay. We forgive you for the Discord. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and it was a lot of fun. I'm gonna go ahead and end it. Let's see. Wait, when is our next live read-in?
I will pull it up real quick.
That would be the 17th.
Yes, I believe so.
Oh, and then also just as a quick announcement for anybody that's here, on the 31st, that is actually my anniversary. So that discussion or that read-in is going to be held over on Casey's channel at Casey's Book. So make sure that you subscribe so that you know when she goes live for that. I think Sammi is still planning on joining her.
Please.
But I won't be there
Yeah.
because I'm going to be trying to figure out how to make trick or treat not suck for my kids during COVID.
Yeah, because I'm not. I enjoy fall, but I'm not a huge Halloween person. So, like,
Really?
participating in Halloween, so I will be more than happy to.
Hell yeah!
The read it.
Yeah, I think also for this book, for Words of Radiance, we're not going to do any more of the evening ones, correct?
Correct.
So they're all going to be at this time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yep.
They're all going to be 1 p.m. And I have asked that anyone who is in a time zone where that doesn't jive very well to please let me know. We tried the evening ones for a little while. I didn't see as much participation in the evening ones as I did in the afternoon ones. And then the evening ones are kind of hard because I do have kiddos that go to bed around 8 p.m. So
Yeah.
everything this month will be 1 p.m. until I have to.
Yeah, 1 p.m. EST. So
EST. Yep, Eastern Standard Time.
Yep. Well, this was lovely, y'all.
All right. Thanks for being here. Bye. We'll see you guys
Bye.
again on
See you in
the 17th.
2 weeks.